Hey YouTube, this is Jeff, aka 101 Bronson, welcoming all of you today to the first installment of my new sort of series, which I'm going to do on a couple of franchises. The collecting series, yes, very uninspiring name, I know, but we are going to start with James Bond 007, the British Secret Service with a license to kill, British Secret Agent, I should say, with a license to kill. Uh, my favorite franchise, hands down my favorite franchise. It's always close. It's either the Bond movies or the Rocky franchise. It's almost it's almost hard to say, but I do know I saw them around the same time for the first time. I do believe I saw Bond before I saw Rocky. I'm almost positive about that. So I don't know. It's definitely a franchise. Long story short, that I'm very passionate about. I've collected so many items over the years. You know, memorabilia, uh, books, posters, soundtracks, the films themselves, action figures, video games, and it's all going to be featured in this series here, and it's multiple part series for the collecting series, which I'm going to do in a couple of franchises. The Rocky franchise will be the next one I cover, but we are going to do a couple of videos on my James Bond collectible items or items that I've collected. We are starting where Bond originally started. We're going into the books today. I'm going to show you all the editions of my Ian Fleming books, non-Ian Fleming books about Bond, books that are about the Fleming books and the films and how the whole history of the franchise happened and stuff like that. Just everything on paper written down about Bond that I've collected. I really should collect a few more books. I have to upgrade the Fleming books because I'm going to show you in a minute. I got some very old editions. They're almost falling apart. But anyway, let's just go into it. I'm going to show you my entire James Bond book collection this episode. Please enjoy, and here we go. Alright, so here we go. We're going to the sort of first person view. I'm just going to show you all of the if I can even say, the literary works of James Bond that I own. Starting with this is where it all started, guys. Casino Royale, the very first medium in which James Bond appeared, 1953 is the original publication date. These are the Dutch sort of paperback pocket books, because you can put them in your pocket. As you can see, the pages have turned yellow. It's very old, but actually still in decent shape. You can still read it. And I actually am rereading the Bond books at the moment. I did just finish this one. I'm on to the next one. I really want to get English editions for them though, because these are, like I said, the translated Dutch ones. Here you do have the English title for the second book here, Live and Let Die. This is the one I'm reading at the moment. As you guys can see, I've folded, wait a minute, where is it? There you go, there, I saw it. Yeah, I'm at page 34, chapter 5. Okay, so I'm rereading this one at the moment. Here's a picture of the man himself, Bond's creator, Ian Fleming, the guy who really invented it all. May he rest in peace. The Bond books are such a different breed as opposed to the films. And, you know, here's Moonraker. We all know the film, you know, space, sci-fi, none of that in the book. It's a very straightforward, serious, gritty spy thriller book, as they pretty much all are by Fleming. A couple of them are a little bit fantastical. You can see where the film sort of got it. But overall, they're all pretty serious. This is Diamonds Are Forever. They all have Sean Connery's image as Bond on the back. These were actually published in the 60s. These versions here that I have. Anyway, you know, the book Diamonds Are Forever, so 1956 or something. But the book here, 1965, as you can see right there. And like I said, Dutch translations, I really have to get English versions of the books. This is probably my favorite or second favorite. Depends on what time of day you ask me. It's either this one here, From Russia with Love, or On Her Majesty's Secret Service, which competes for my favorite Fleming novel. This one, whenever I read it, I pretty much finish it in one day. All right, like I start in the morning, by afternoon, late afternoon, I finish it. It's really a page turner, that one. Anyway, this is a little more fantastical, and of course, this was the basis for the very first official James Bond movie, Doctor No, right here. Uh, Published in the late 50s once again. Originally, the version I have is from the 60s. Here's the book for Goldfinger. Again, featuring Ian Fleming right there. And yeah, this became probably the most iconic Bond movie, right? And then Fleming did something different. He did a short story collection, From a View to a Kill. I believe the English title for the short story collection is For Your Eyes Only, featuring I believe 5 short stories, which are For Your Eyes Only, From a View to a Kill. I believe Risico and the Hildebrand Rarity are in this, and I think Quantum of Solace. So yeah, short stories. I'm not a big fan of the short stories. I prefer a fully fledged novel, and Fleming did get back to it with the next one here, Thunderball. Now this is probably the most controversial work of the series, because this led to a lot of problems within the franchise, but we're not going to get into that right now. We'll save that for another day. Short version is Fleming wrote down with 2 people, or maybe even 3 people, to write a script in the early 60s, a Bond movie script. It got nowhere. Fleming took the material, put it into his next book, Thunderball, and the people that he wrote it with, they sued him, and it led to a lot of legal battles between Fleming and the people, Kevin McClory and Jack Whittingham, and also between the actual Bond producers of the films, you know, the Broccolis, and also with Kevin McClory. Yeah, that's the short version of it. Next book is another experimental work from Fleming. This is The Spy Who Loved Me. Of course, we all know the movie, but the book here is a very different beast. Actually, Bond doesn't appear in the book until further the way in. It's more about sort of the story about this girl, and Bond just happens to be an intruder into her life. It's not really a Bond book in my opinion, but you know. The title, of course, led to one of the best Bond films in the series, The Spy Who Loved Me. It's a great title. The book itself, though, is definitely probably my least favorite Fleming one. However, this here, he followed it with his strongest work. Like I said, it's either this one or From Russia. This is, of course, On Her Majesty's Secret Service, which was the foundation for what was to become my favorite James Bond film, the 1969 film with George Lazenby, directed by Peter Hunt. My favorite Bond film. The book itself is fantastic, and it's one of the films that closely follows the book, as close as possible, just like From Russia, actually. But anyway, this is the final fully fledged Ian Fleming novel. This is You Only Live Twice, which was a sequel to Majesties. And this is the final installment in the so-called Spectre or Blofeld trilogy, beginning with Thunderball, continuing in On Her Majesty's, and ending in this one. It's a fantastic book as well, probably also in my top 5 of the Bond books. However, Fleming did begin writing, and he actually finished the first treatment for what would be his last book, The Man with the Golden Gun. Now, the thing is, he finished the first draft of it, so it's still an uncompleted, unpolished sort of story. Fleming usually did, I think, 2 rewrites once he did the first version, and he didn't get the chance to do that because he passed away. So they did release it, after he passed, but it's definitely it's definitely, there's good elements in it. I like it overall, but it does feel unpolished, like I said. So anyway, we do have another Ian Fleming short story bundle here. This is Octopussy and the Living Daylights, or we just call it Octopussy in the Netherlands, apparently. Again, this is a short story. They released this after his death. It was first published, I think, for Playboy magazine, if I'm not mistaken, but they decided, Fleming is dead, we want new Bond material, we'll put the short stories in the book. So that's what happened. Anyway, that's the very last of Ian Fleming's works in terms of the Bond stories. A few authors after Fleming have tried to keep it going. and they have sort of inherited the literary, you know, moniker, and they write the Bond stories. And the first author to give it a go was Robert Markham, which was a pseudonym for a man called Kingsley Amis, and his novel is called James Bond. No, okay, the Dutch title here is versus Colonel Sun, but I think it was actually just Colonel Sun for the English version. Does it say that anywhere? It should say it here, original title. Oh yeah, original title is Colonel Sun, a James Bond adventure. Yeah. Mid to late 60s, yeah. Decent book, that one. And then I have a little bit of an oddity. This is a Dutch book, James Bond Dissected by O.F. Snelling. It just talks about the literary Bond works and the Ian Fleming works. It sort of dissects the characters for each novel and stuff like that. It's a pretty interesting read as well. Next up, we have a novelization for one of my favorite movies, and I guess a guilty pleasure. This is a novelization for the film Moonraker. It's called James Bond and Moonraker. So this is obviously based on the film script, actually written by the guy that actually did the script. However, it's still, as much as it is basically a novelization, there are still substantial differences between this and the film. It's not as silly as the film, actually. And Bond is still pretty much the book version of Bond. It's not the Roger Moore version. He's still, this version in the book, he's still smoking 70 cigarettes a day. He's still very serious, you know, he's still, you know, pretty much the way Fleming wrote him. So anyway, then we have two books from author John Gardner, who wrote I believe he wrote at least 10 of the Bond continuation novels, but I only have two. This is the first one he did, License Renewed. Now, it's been a while since I read this, don't remember too much about it, but I believe it's like updated for Bond, the Fleming version of Bond, to go into the 80s. So it's a little sci-fi because it's sort of Austin Powers, actually. I believe they freeze Bond in and he wakes up here in the 80s, and that's how Bond is continued on into the 80s in book form anyway. I believe that's the way it went. Don't quote me on that. Like I said, it has been a while. And this one actually I've never read, to be perfectly honest. This is Icebreaker by John Gardner. I love the girl here on the cover. She looks great. Yeah. Can't say too much about it, unfortunately. But hey, one day I'll get around to it, for sure. And then last up for the Bond novels, we have this book from 2008, written by Sebastian Faulks. This is Devil May Care. I actually read this book a couple of times. This is a pretty good one. I believe this takes Bond back into the 60s. It just continues on from where Fleming left off, sort of. Yeah, it is a continuation of the Fleming Bond. So it sort of ignores all the other continuation offers and just continues after where Fleming left off. It's actually is a valid attempt right here. It's not a bad one at all. So yeah, there you go. Next up, I do have two big coffee table books. I'll show you how big they are. Yeah, they're big. So big, in fact, I might have to adjust the camera for it. There we go. This is James Bond All In by Raymond Rombout, which is I believe he's Flemish, so Belgium author, but this is a Dutch language book, so obviously you guys won't have much use in owning or seeing this, but I want to show you a little bit anyway, just sort of flip through it. It's about everything Bond related, the books, the films, how they get made, the formula that it's in it, that are in the films, how much the films grossed. Obviously, as I'm flipping, we're not seeing much pictures, but believe me, there's plenty of pictures in here, some very high-end pictures. I really just don't have space. There we go. There's the great Sir Roger Moore right there. Just talks about everything, man. This is, yeah, it's a great book. Just trust me on it, even though we might not be flipping to some cool pictures. There's one there. Trust me, there's plenty to be enjoyed. They even talk about the Austin Power films and films that were inspired by Bond. So yeah, it's a great one. This is actually, it features every Bond film until Quantum of Solace. I believe the author has updated it a couple of times. I think he actually released the latest one now, which will include No Time to Die. But I just never got around to upgrading it. But yeah. Here is another coffee table book written by none other than Sir Roger Moore himself. I did do a separate video on this book where I sort of flipped through it on my channel about a year and a half ago, I guess. Of course, the original version by Roger Moore is in English, but this is a translated version into Dutch. So the writing is in Dutch, but I mean, the pictures speak for themselves. So Roger also talks about everything. He talks about the Fleming books, how he got involved with Bond. He talks about what he thinks of the other portrayals of Bond. He talks about the Bond girls, the Bond villains, the gadgets, just everything you would want. And you know, he contains his charming sense of humor throughout. You know, he makes the Mickey of his own appearances in some of the films and stuff. Yeah, so you know, example, you know, oh, here I am wearing yet another safari suit, and stuff like that. Yeah, the Bond girls. Yeah. What can I say? Yeah, it's a great book once again. It's called Bond on Bond by Sir Roger Moore. It was published for the 50th anniversary of James Bond back in 2012, which was around the time that Skyfall came out. And yeah, there you go. That's the book by Sir Roger Moore. That's the hardcover, you know, coffee table book. And then I have two oddities. Now this I actually got in 2015. It's like a very small excerpted version of a bigger book, as it says right there. I actually got this in 2015 during the release of Spectre. I went to a special screening for that film, the opening night. As a matter of fact, it was like a VIP event you had to go into. You know, there was a dress code, you have to wear a black tie and everything. I actually went to that here in the Netherlands. And they gave this out along with some other goodies. It's like a small excerpted version, like I said, of Bond by Design. It talks about, you know, how they designed the sets and gadgets, and here the car, how they made the gadgets on the Aston Martin work and everything like that. You know, in particular, it talks about the Can Adam works, obviously, which is the most iconic works on the Bond films, but also if I can get the words out, it also talks about, you know, the costumes and everything like that. So it was a cool thing that they gave out this, for sure, even featuring some Spectre work at the end. And this, another excerpted version. This I actually got with the Bond Blu-ray box set that I own, which will feature in the second episode. In the episode after this, we will be taking a look at the films. But this came with the with that set. It's the James Bond 50 Years of Movie Posters book, excerpted version again. I would like to own the full big book of this. You know, it talks about all the different poster designs for different countries. I love these, you know, especially for the Connery era. The posters were fantastic in my opinion. Probably the only weak one is this Goldfinger one. I always thought this one was just a little bland. They could have done a bit more with it. This one does more. For example, the Thunderbolt posters I always liked. I love this here for You Only Live Twice. You Only Live Twice is probably my favorite poster, which of course is not featured here. Here's the one for Our Majesties, which I actually do own this one. And I will do an episode on the posters that I have. There's only a couple, so that won't be too long of an episode. Oh, this is for Diamonds Are Forever. Live and Let Die. Iconic poster once again. Man with the Golden Gun. Spy Who Loved Me. Moonraker. I love the Moonraker posters. This one is cool. I've always had a weak spot for the For Your Eyes Only one as well. I love Roger standing there in between the legs of the girl there with the crossbow, which they censored for the it was the US, yeah, the US edition. They censored it. It was a little bit too revealing for the censors. And we just skip ahead a little bit, ending with a cool poster for Spectre right there. Yeah, we'll love to own a full book of that. So anyway, those are all the literary works of James Bond, you know, everything, the original Fleming books, continuation books, coffee table books about the films and the books and everything. And like I said, a couple of oddities. So I do hope you all enjoyed. As always, if you do, leave a like. And as always, I would love to know your comments and thoughts down at the comment section. That's it for now, guys. Stay safe and healthy out there. See you in the next one. Keep punching. And have a good one. Take care.